Today is Thursday, April 20th. We'll tell you how Republicans now say they want to spend taxpayer dollars and what the key differences are from what Democrats want. Also, 3 similar mistakes that led to 3 separate shootings, and why legally it's not exactly clear if the shooters were in the wrong. Plus, why there's a worsening shortage of pilots, another AI chatbot now available on social media, and a Coachella headliner who had to pull out of Weekend 2. Those stories and even more news to know coming up. Welcome to The Newsworthy. All the day's news in around 10 minutes. Fast, fair, fun, and on the go. I'm Erica Mandy. Thanks so much for being here. You ready? Let's do this. Another long, bitter fight could be brewing on Capitol Hill. Top House Republicans came out with their own spending plan that's very different from the one President Biden proposed last month. As expected, the GOP proposal includes quite a few cuts, which Republican lawmakers say are needed to save taxpayers money and grow the economy. To list some of the highlights, it would limit spending growth to no more than 1% a year, make the government cancel pandemic funding that hasn't been spent yet, stop the White House plan to forgive some student loans, end new clean energy subsidies, add new rules requiring people to work if they want to receive federal benefits, and more. But instead of cuts, President Biden and the Dems want to add more programs. For example, universal free preschool, a national paid family and medical leave program, and more big investments to address climate change. And those differences are the problem. The GOP plan is not expected to pass the Democratic-led Senate, and Biden's plan is not expected to get through the Republican-led House. But the clock is ticking. Congress needs to raise the debt limit before money runs out sometime this summer. Otherwise, America defaults on its loans for the first time in history. Republicans say they'll raise the debt ceiling by $1.5 trillion only if the spending cuts pass. Meanwhile, President Biden and other Democrats have said raising the debt ceiling should be separate from any negotiations about federal spending. Expect the debate to start heating up in Congress next week. Unfortunately, we have a sad story to bring you out of Yemen. Dozens of people were killed in a stampede in the country's capital. They were all gathered in a school because local businessmen were distributing financial aid, as is custom during the Muslim holy month of Ramadan. They were giving out what amounted to about $9 a person. That's big for some people there, since Yemen is in the middle of what the UN calls the world's biggest humanitarian crisis. But the event apparently got chaotic. So witnesses tell the AP armed rebels fired into the air in an attempt at crowd control. And the shots struck an electrical wire, causing it to explode. Well, that sparked a panic, and people began stampeding. At least 78 people were killed, and at least 73 others were hurt and taken to the hospital. An investigation is now underway. Well, back in the U.S., there's new outrage, grief, and scrutiny around the country in the wake of 3 shocking shootings in a matter of 6 days. Authorities say in every case, young people made similar mistakes by showing up at the wrong places, and they were all met with gun violence. We told you about one of them already, the 16-year-old in Kansas City who mixed up the address where he went to pick up his brothers. He rang the wrong doorbell and got shot by the man who lives there. Just a couple of nights later, a 20-year-old woman was traveling with 3 other people in upstate New York when the group turned onto a property that was not the friend's house they were looking for. Well, the person who lived there also came out and opened fire, and one of the shots hit and killed the young woman. And then in Texas this week, a man shot 2 cheerleaders in a supermarket parking lot because one of them says she mistakenly got into his car thinking it was her own. In all 3 cases, the shooters are now facing criminal charges. But in at least 2 of them, the gunmen have pleaded not guilty. Legal experts say they'll probably argue self-defense, since if they can prove they had reason to fear for their life, it would be okay that they opened fire. No matter what happens in court, these shootings have also sparked a lot of discussion around the country. Some lawmakers have used the incidents as examples of why tougher gun control legislation is needed. Others say they want to revisit self-defense laws. And then there are people who say the shootings point to an even wider problem, a general distrust and paranoia in American society. But one thing people on every side of this issue seem to agree on is that we can do better. A sudden spring warm-up has started melting massive amounts of snow that built up over the last few months. And with that, there are widespread flood advisories from the west to the upper Midwest to the northern plains. It's the worst near rivers that have started to overflow. Utah is even under a state of emergency right now. The governor's office says the melting could continue for months. In parts of California, some outlooks also say the flood danger could last through the year because the state's snowpack hit a record. Flood watches and warnings also cover portions of the Dakotas and Minnesota. A lot of agricultural land, rural communities, and roads are now covered in water. It's not clear exactly how long the dangers might stick around. The National Weather Service is now telling people to stay alert, especially when the temperatures go up and rain starts falling. We have more news for you still coming up, but first, a quick word from our sponsor. Listen, I do think Google can be helpful to educate ourselves about certain health issues and ask our doctors the right questions, but I also think it can cause unnecessary anxiety. So when I really need to know what's going on with my health or my family's health, I try to avoid reading every possibility online or going down a social media rabbit hole. Instead, I turn to expert doctors and medical professionals that specialize in the care I need. And ZocDoc helps us find those experts. ZocDoc is the only free app that lets you find and book doctors who are patient-reviewed, take your insurance, are available when you need them, and treat almost every condition under the sun. No more scouring the internet for unclear answers or questionable reviews of doctors. ZocDoc offers a trusted guide. So join the millions of people already using the free app. Go to ZocDoc.com/newsworthy and download the ZocDoc app for free. Then find and book a top-rated doctor today. Many are available within 24 hours. That's ZocDoc.com/newsworthy. ZocDoc.com/newsworthy. U.S. airlines are facing what one industry group called, quote, a tsunami of pilot retirements. The Regional Airline Association warned Congress this week that more than half of today's pilots will reach the mandatory retirement age of 65 in the next 15 years. And the big problem? Not enough young pilots are coming in to replace them. And the group says it's only going to make the current pilot shortage worse. The shortage has already led to reduced air service in 42 states. And more than 500 planes from regional airlines are sitting idle because there just aren't enough pilots to fly them. The major airlines are also facing pilot shortages, so they're hiring pilots away from regional carriers. That said, the union repping most U.S. airline pilots pushed back and urged Congress not to lower safety and training requirements to try to fix the issue. In fact, the union says tens of thousands more pilots were trained over the last decade than airlines needed, and blamed airlines for not providing good enough pay and conditions to make pilots want to work for them and stick around. Either way, if airlines cannot find the pilots they need, it could mean less flight availability and higher fares for passengers. To be continued. Well, this week, Florida expanded the parental rights in education law, dubbed the Don't Say Gay bill by critics. Whatever you call it, it means educators in Florida are not allowed to teach students about sexual orientation or gender identity unless it's part of a reproductive health course. And teachers who do talk about those topics anyway could have their licenses taken away. When the law first went into effect last year, it applied only to kindergarten through third grades. Then this week, the state education department expanded it to all grades K through 12. Florida's governor says those topics are not appropriate for educational settings and that it should be up to parents to decide when and if their kids should learn about them. But critics, including some in the Biden administration, say the law just encourages prejudice toward the LGBTQ community. Either way, the new expanded law will go into effect in about a month. Snapchat's AI bot is now rolling out to everyone. My AI, as it's called, is based on ChatGPT technology and will be available for free to all 750 million monthly Snapchat users over the next few weeks. It used to be only for paid subscribers. Now, all users will be able to chat with My AI one-on-one or add it to a group chat by mentioning it with an @ symbol. Another new feature is being able to customize the look and name of your bot with a Bitmoji avatar. My AI is a feature that tries to be like a conversational friend that can recommend filters or places to visit. The bot will reportedly use pictures soon, too. Snap's CEO says he's personally used it to create bedtime stories for his kids and plan a birthday itinerary for his wife. There have been some hiccups with inappropriate interactions, but Snap says it's added safeguards and thinks almost all of My AI replies now follow their community guidelines. Of course, Snap is just one of many companies adding new AI tools and bots to their platforms and services. Frank Ocean is out as the headliner for Coachella this weekend. It'll be the second weekend of one of America's largest and most popular music festivals. But Frank Ocean's rep put out a statement that says he suffered 2 fractures and a sprain in his left leg leading up to weekend 1, and now his doctor says not to perform. He did manage to perform last weekend, though it was not the show he originally planned. He had to rework it in just 72 hours. Ocean said there's some beauty in chaos and promised he'll see fans soon. So who will replace him on Sunday? Variety cites sources who say Blink-182 may fill that spot. The group performed together last weekend for the first time since 2014, and it seemed to be a big hit. That's it for the main news today, so now it's time for Thing to Know Thursday. And today's Thing to Know is that in some circles, today, April 20th, is known as 420, the unofficial marijuana holiday. So we thought we'd take a moment to update you on where marijuana laws stand now in the U.S., since they seem to be changing all the time. But first, I want to tell you about another daily podcast that you might want to check out. I found that affirmations can help me feel good and more positive. I've also seen in documentaries how a lot of professional athletes use affirmations before they compete. So if you are interested in giving them a try, then check out Daily Affirmations Meditations. Each episode is only 5 to 10 minutes, and each one focuses on one thing, like I am resilient or I am worthy of success. It's a way to infuse some calm and positivity into your day. Listen now by searching for Daily Affirmations for Women on your favorite podcast player. Okay, now back to Thing to Know Thursday. So as of right now, weed is not legal on a federal level, and state to state, it really varies. In some places, marijuana is almost treated like alcohol. You have to be of age, then you can buy and use it. The only exception is you generally cannot have huge quantities of it. In other states, there are certain products that are legal to take for certain medical conditions. And then there are still a handful of states where marijuana in any form, for any purpose, is illegal. To break down the numbers, recreational weed is now legal for all adults in 21 states and Washington, D.C., and 39 states have some kind of medical cannabis program. Even more states could open up legal cannabis markets by the end of the year, since there are other state lawmakers considering bills now. But what does it mean when the state laws clash with the federal laws over this sort of thing? Well, it mostly means you cannot take marijuana from one state to another. And on the business end of things, everything has to happen within state lines, meaning weed has to be grown, sold, and taxed in the same legal state. Federal land, water sources, and federally regulated banks are restricted, and marijuana businesses cannot deduct their expenses on federal income taxes. That all could change, though. Just last month, the U.S. Attorney General said the Justice Department was working on a marijuana policy. There are also a few different bills on the subject that have been introduced to Congress. But at this point, it's not clear if they have any chance at passing anytime soon. So, to be continued. All right, thank you so much for listening today. If you want ad-free episodes while also supporting this show, become a Newsworthy Insider. Learn more and start your free trial at thenewsworthy.com/insider. And thank you so much to some of our newest insiders like Alana B. We appreciate you. All right, we'll catch you up on more news to know tomorrow. Until then, have a great day.